Well, hello, good evening, good day, good afternoon, whenever you're hearing this. Welcome to Tech Tip Tuesday. I'm super glad you guys are here. My name is Ken Close. I am a member of Healy World, just like many of you guys, as well as a board member for the Healy field. And tonight I am joined by Jake Barron. He is our head of operations for Americas. Hey, Jake, how you doing?
Hello, Ken. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good day.
Good on you, as they say in Australia, right? I think that's how they say it. So thank you for being here. And we are also joined, by the way, with a guest in the background from customer service. We have Christian here tonight, right? This is our new person.
Yeah, cool. Christian's the newest member of our tech support team. He's been with us for a couple months, but this is his first time helping out in the chat on Tech Tip Tuesday. So very happy to have him here and able to assist tonight. So thank you, Christian.
Right on. Well, everybody say hello to Christian in the background. Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate you guys being here. We always have somebody from our customer service group. So it's really great that we can have that support. So for you guys that are new to Tech Tip Tuesday, well, first of all, welcome. And I'm so glad you're here. Secondly, let me tell you a little bit how it works. This is a chat-based forum where we will unpack the questions that show up in the chat. So you'll put your questions there typed in the chat and we'll open those up. We will solve the various mysteries. For those of you guys that are veterans of this platform, well, you know how it works. I just want to make sure that I mentioned that we aren't able to diagnose, treat, or prevent any kinds of diseases, or can we even suggest any of the Healy products or programs for such. So there's great tools for that. And maybe we'll talk about that later. But that's what we do here. So feel free to put your questions in the chat. There's always some great content in there. I love what we do. And let's just jump right in and see what we come up with. Jake, how about that?
That sounds good. So,
all right.
Okay, so Melody says she's got some questions that she was going to ask for Izzy, because Izzy's driving and can't type in the chat right now. So Melody, if you want to go ahead and put those questions into the chat, we'll take care of those on the call here.
Yeah, definitely keep your eyes on the road there, Izzy. No texting and driving, right?
Yeah.
But thank you for being here. Listening in is great as well. So yes, let's definitely put some questions in there. Cindy does say something here about I'm unable to find specific support tickets in the new support center. We did some stuff about how that showed up on What's Up Wednesday, right? The new support center.
Yes, we it is new. There's a few things that we're going to be working out some, it's a brand new platform tied in with our new help center too. And there's definitely some things that we've identified that we're gonna enhance or improve and make it a little bit more easier to find. But as far as their tickets not showing up, that's not one of the things that I've heard really much about there. So you could maybe just try logging out, logging back in, different browser possibly, but in general the database that pulls those tickets into there hasn't changed at all. It's still tied into the same thing on the back end. So I would
another thing to consider too, that if you did put in a support ticket and you didn't get a confirmation email, so I would go back and confirm that you got a confirmation email, because if something was put in and then the submit function didn't actually complete, then it wouldn't be logged in your back office, and you wouldn't have a supporting confirmation email. So make sure you got that confirmation email. If you do, then you have a support ticket, and then that content should be in your back office. Well, not your back office, but your support center. Take a look at that for us, Cindy, and maybe chime in and give us what you find.
Yeah.
Okay, so Melody's question, do the local pain programs count towards the 3 to 4 wired programs per day, or can they be run all day? So that's a great question. So anytime that Healy has put kind of a standardized threshold on the microcurrent programs or the IMF programs. And the IMF programs are simply the ones that implement the frequencies via the microcurrent. And some people are sensitive to that kind of modality, and some are not. So they put a number, 3 to 4 per day. That's just a precautionary number. You as an individual can experiment all you want. I experiment constantly, but make sure that you are following a very strict self-care protocol, which is hydration, movement, grounding. Some of those kind of things are important to make sure that the body is dissipating this energy that's being put in. So as well as electrolytes and things like that, which are good for your body. I say do your own experiment, but yes, they do count as the 3 to 4 recommendation by Healy. Anything that you're implementing the microcurrent into the body. So in other words, let's say that you're running something from the bioenergetic defense page. And you just have the device like clipped to your shirt or in your pocket. That's a little bit different implication to the body. That's a magnetic energy. Same thing with the coil. It's a different implication to the body. We're not talking about those. So you could do those or even the coil. But when you're connected via the electrodes, whether it be the wristband modality or the sticky pads, 3 to 4 is the recommended daily allowance. Okay.
All right. Also on that. So if you watched Frequencies and Friends, I wanted to make this point, and Marcus did a talk on Frequencies and Friends beginning of this month, and he was talking about microcurrent and some of the basics. And for a lot of people, as Ken mentioned, 3 to 4 per day doesn't mean everyone should run 3 to 4 per day. Some people, Marcus mentioned on that call, maybe only running microcurrent on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday to give your body time to rest and everything. But again, it's completely dependent upon the person, and you can't make a recommendation that fits everybody. That's why there's a general range. In general, you should be okay not to exceed this amount. But if it's too much for you, you can cut back and just do 1 per day or 1 every other day, or just a handful per week. So.
One of the things to be mindful of is, for instance, when you're doing these kind of things, sometimes you may feel some kind of adverse effect. You might feel sleepy or tired or irritated, agitated. You may feel a little bit achy. You may feel like the flu-like symptoms, maybe like a detox symptoms. So these things are things to keep in mind, because the programs themselves are starting to do certain things within the biology of your body, and you just pay attention to that. So it's good to take a break. I take a break sometimes at least 1 day, if not 2 days per week, just to see how my body is responding and what is being triggered or caused by some of the things I do and what's not. So when I say I stop, it's not I just don't do Healy, but I don't do a lot of things. I will stop doing many of the modalities I do in my life just to give my body a break, to make sure that I know, what's doing what. All right. Hugh's got a question here. Let's see. I am new and doing the demo at events. Okay. I want to find some simple methods for demoing and using at events to keep it super simple. Yeah, we had some practice with that, didn't we, Jake? I mean, there's been a lot of practice in keeping it simple, keeping it flowing, because we got a lot of people at once trying to do something. So demonstrations, I agree. Keeping things simple is super important. And if it depends on, I mean, how elaborate you want to be with showing the Healy. One of the easiest ways that I have found in terms of doing a demo is, set somebody up as if you want to set somebody up as a client within the resonance, within the Blue Dot app, and do an aura scan on them, right? And just look at the bar graph. If you just show the bar graph, the energy centers and their bar graph, and then you can, one of two things, either run a resonance scan and do the top #1 program that it recommends, or intuitively pick a program for them and hook them up and let them do it, and come back and do another aura scan and see the difference. Now, first of all, when you do an aura scan and you start, people see, wow, gosh, look at my root center, my first center is really low, and they start to freak out a little bit about it, or they have some kind of opinion about it. The moment that you do a scan again, that will look different. It will look different. So it's good to have these two comparisons. Sometimes it's a lot of fun. It just depends on how much time you want to spend with each person. If you just want to have them experience microcurrent technology, sometimes people are what I call thick-skinned, and they get absolutely nothing from it, right? So it's good to get a couple of bits of information, such as, especially when you set them up as a client, you're doing a demo, you set them up as a client, you've got some content there, you can revisit them down the road. You know what I'm saying? You've got the client record. You could go back and remember who you spoke to. You can have an email address that you can reach out to them again. But you can also implement some of the scanning technology, such as the aura scan, because it gives a pretty good indication of energy centers. So again, it's about how much time do you want to spend, how much time do you have to spend, and then going from there. Right, Jake, you guys were doing a lot of demos where we were. You and Freddie did most of them.
Yeah, we did a lot. Again, it's similar to what you said. Do a scan in general for all Healy programs, and then you can kind of narrow it down from there. The top one that comes up, run another scan just within that program, and then okay, that's the #1 program that you're going to want to run in the Healy Pink Dot app. And so you can kind of explain, the Healy itself is finding which programs, which frequencies that you need the most, and then you can go over to the Healy Pink Dot app and kind of demonstrate that part. Or as Ken said, you can kind of just go into the aura scan and show the before and after results there as well. So yeah, again, a lot of it really is dependent upon how much time you have for each person, because it can take 10-15 minutes or more just for one person, just to get them going with the Healy. And then if there's a lot of people at this event or whatever, of course you need help, and you need more devices in order to kind of get more people through there. So
100%. I don't know. I mean, how many? There were 10 at first, and then even 20 Healys. A lot of Healys.
Most of the events, we'll have 20 plus Healys, and they're at some point all loaned out at the same time. So
yeah, and a lot of people doing it simultaneously as far as hooking folks up and getting them started. So
yeah.
All right. So Cindy says, my HealAdvisor search app won't sync to the cloud. I had issues weeks ago, and now it's not working again. So, there is so much related to data stream. Sometimes there's content or there's times in which the cloud is down for maintenance, but I haven't seen or heard any announcements. I haven't gotten any emails about maintenance lately.
Nothing's down with the HealAdvisor app, but if you had issues weeks ago with it not syncing, the fix in that case where you get stuck at that main screen where it shows it's kind of loading, is to clear the app cache for that particular app. That in general will fix that for you. And if you don't know how to do that, Christian, maybe if you have that reply that we have for people having sync issues with the HealAdvisor app, maybe if you can put that in the chat later on this call. But whatever steps you took the first time should work again, or you can always delete and uninstall, reinstall that app. Make sure you shut your smartphone off in between there as well to clear everything out. But I see she put in here that the search tool doesn't work also. So again, that's not something, that sounds something device specific, because the search doesn't just not work for one particular thing. It's up or it's not, for Healy. So it sounds like there's a couple things going up. If it won't sync and the search won't work, there's something probably on the device itself that needs to be cleared out, for it to continue.
Yeah, one of the things I want to caution folks is, and I say this often, is that if your smart device or you're operating Healy on has very limited amount of memory left because of videos and pictures and whatever else you got going on your device, apps, all that kind of thing. If you're below 25% available in terms of memory resources, then your smart device is going to struggle. It's going to struggle to operate because these apps, especially when it's working one-on-one with the blue dot or the advisor, it's resource hungry, and it's looking for a lot of the resources on your smart device, the CPU function, memory locations, cache. Like cache is just a temporary storage space in which content is put so that the CPU can grab it quickly and easily between function commands on your smart device. So if your memory is low and the amount of memory available is low on your smart device, you're going to have these issues. So my recommendation is I like to have either a super huge memory. I have one of my iPhones is a terabyte of memory. That's a lot. Or have an alternative device that has nothing on it but my Healy function. It doesn't have to have a phone number. It doesn't have to have cell service. It just needs to, it'll automatically connect to the Wi-Fi, and you allow it to connect to the Wi-Fi, and you have nothing else but your Healy apps on it. Don't put any pictures on it. You don't have to have your email on there. You do need to have an email function so that you can send scans to people if you want, but you can have very little else on there, and it'll probably work a lot more flawlessly.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. There's a question here. He was asking, is there any way to send the PDF report from CRM Client Center? Can we add that feature to send it out, having to type in their email again? So yeah, you're right. Putting in there's multiple ways in which you could send that PDF. Text is one, but typically it's too big of a file. Depends on, what platform you're working on. I think iOS to iOS, you can do it. I haven't done it other than email mostly. You're right though. If you don't have their email address in the smart device that you're functioning from, you don't have their contact information in the smart device you're functioning from, and you're just doing it in demo mode. Yeah, you're going to have to type in that email address all the time. What I do is I have a little card that when a person wants to do a demo, I have them fill out this little card, and it has their contact information on it. And so when I do a scan, it's sitting right next to me, and then the email's right there. Yes, I still have to type it in. However, I don't have to ask them for it again. I don't have to go look it up anywhere. I already have this little card. And at the end of the event, I've collected a whole bunch of these cards that gives me follow-up content, right? To go back and make sure I follow up with them with a proper email, phone number. And on this card, it says it has their first name, last name, their phone number, their email. It also has what they're interested in terms of why they're even there to see me, and what's the best form in which I could contact them. Give them the opportunity to tell me how they want me to contact them and when. So, morning, afternoon, evening, whatever. It's just only about, it's about 6-7 lines, and small little cards, and it's great for follow-up. All right. Let's see. Laurel's asking, are the pain stimulation programs only the ones to use with the sticky electrodes, or are there others that work with them? Great question. So the pain programs, you'll notice when you go into one of the programs and you choose one of the programs, it gives you content as to how to hook up to the Healy, the hardware, right? It shows pictures. It also shows you how long the program is, that kind of thing. Well, it tells you maximum duration of the program. And then how often, once per week, once per day, whatever. The pictures do show in the US these little round circles, like on the wrist or somewhere on the brachial plexus, upper back. Or if you're looking at the new Healy app, it shows you kind of more up on the mastoid bone, the bone's just behind the ear. So these particular connection modalities, the ones that are either local parts of the body, mastoid or brachial plexus, are sticky pads. The ones that shows the round circle on the wrist can be interchanged between sticky pads or wristbands. Either one, because I mean, obviously the wristbands don't fit around your neck. I mean, don't put them around your neck, people. But the wristbands are designed to go around the wrists or around the ankles. That's another option. Just depends on size of your ankles. So the sticky pads can be exchanged. Or the sticky pads can be used anywhere, but the wristbands can be exchanged for the ones around the wrists. So, but the pain stimulation ones are not the only ones that use the sticky pads. Some of what Healy calls acute are more for, say, head region. So some of the learning programs that are acute, stress programs that are acute, are going to have you connect via sticky pads somewhere around the brachial plexus or the mastoid bone, depending on which. You can use either one, but the new Healy app shows a different spot than the old Healy app. And so there are other programs that ask you to use the sticky pads in certain areas. The picture shows it, the app shows it. Just remember what I said, where it shows it on the wrist, they can be exchanged with the wristbands. Okay.
All right, we have a question about the new Healy app. It says, is there a way to tell when the battery is getting low? Which icon is it on the page? And I was gonna just show this real quick. I'm gonna do a screen share, just because this is actually, I have a screen up here. It's not specific to the battery, but you can kind of see.
I can pull my device on here and we can do it live.
Actually, could you make me co-host? I think when you joined, it put me back to regular. But
there we go. Sorry about that.
All right, thank you. Okay, so on here, so if you're looking for, when you're running a program, for example, you'll see here, this is a kind of example of how to switch off the Bluetooth chip in the new Healy app. If you click the icon on the top right, it pulls up the screen, shows your serial number, the battery percentage, and then here you can also turn off the Bluetooth chip on your Healy. So it's, again, you just click this, and then you'll see the battery percent right there in the next window. Then if you want to just close out, you just click close, and it'll take you back to your program. Pretty simple. So
pretty simple, yeah. Pretty cool interactive little icon. I can let's see, I could even probably show it live if you guys wanted to, but that everybody hopefully understood that. If there's any other questions.
So actually this is probably a good time to on Thursday. So this Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to do a Healy for beginners and beyond. I'll be hosting that call along with the great Ken Close here. We're going to be going through it's been a while since we did a regular unboxing with the Healy, so we're going to go through that, show some of the things that may have changed over the last couple of months. Not a whole lot, but we'll go through that, and then we're going to show, if you were a new member or customer joining today, what the process would be for you. So, we've done unboxings in the past, but we're going to show now going straight from unboxing to downloading the new Healy app, not dealing with the current Healy Pink Dot app, straight into the new Healy app, how to set up your Analyse app as well, now that there's no master key, which there was in the past, and then also how to do an initial setup for the HealAdvisor app, which is where most people go to use the search feature. That's what a lot of people call it, HealAdvisor search. It's actually the HealAdvisor app, and there's a search module within the HealAdvisor app. But we're going to show that, and then also give an overview of some getting started tips and the resources that are available, and specifically Healy Academy, the Healy World America's page on YouTube, the new help center, how to submit a support ticket, and then also you're on this call, so you know about Tech Tip Tuesday, but we're going to go a little bit on that call of why it's important to join Tech Tip Tuesday if you have any questions that might come up. So the link to join, I'm going to put that link here into the chat. There's actually a new URL for both Tech Tip Tuesday and Healy for Beginners and Beyond. This current one works, but I'm going to put the new URLs here into the chat. So again, it's 3 p.m. Eastern time this Thursday, November 17th. So
yay. Yeah, definitely. You know, I can't tell you how many people say that they, learn something new every time they come to this call, because I mean, we do unpack things in a little different way sometimes, and you get new information. So it's great to be here. And of course, the What's Up Wednesday call, which is a lot of information about the sales and the promos, any operations content, even special trainings. We've got some great special trainings on Wednesday to show how to use Healy and how people are actually out there using it for different purposes. And so a lot of great content. I highly recommend that, there's really those two calls every week, Tech Tip Tuesday and the What's Up Wednesday, but then occasionally there is the Healy for Beginners and Beyond.
Yep.
If one plugged into those calls on a regular basis, I'm telling you, you'd have a whole lot of advantage over so many people that ask them these questions all the time. Okay. So Cindy said that she did all that about the tickets and still can't find the ticket. The search tool isn't working for her. Okay. So, yeah. So if you received a confirmation email that you submitted a ticket, then it does exist. If it's not showing up, I mean, I ensuring that you're logged in, of course, your little personal icon at the top right of the page is up there, that you're logged in on your page. And then, of course, going into the support tab, it will be your content. So either there's something going on with your browser itself, that page is not loading properly. Those are some of the things I can think of off the top of my head. I would just give it a try, an incognito browser. If you haven't done that before, it's available on either PC or Mac, and it's typically up at the top right of your screen. There's 3 little dots outside of the address bar of your browser, and you can click on those 3 little dots, and it gives you option to open an incognito window. Try logging into your shop page through that modality and see what those pages look like, because they will definitely not be dependent upon whatever browser you're using, right? Some of those browsers have limitations because of cookies, by the way.
So Ken, I like this next question from Hugh. It says, when I started, I seemed I could feel more of the gold programs. It just does not feel like it did in the beginning for the effect of having people try this. I drink lots of water, just wondering what programs you feel the best. And there's multiple parts to that question as far as what could be going on there, right, Ken?
There is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, first of all, of course, making sure that the Healy hardware settings, either high or low, are understood. If you are, the factory settings is always low. So anytime you're doing demos, and if you've got multiple Healys, making sure that those are set to the high setting, and not because that's going to give you no ability to down regulate the current. Because even if it's set to high, all that does is puts a broader range between the 0 and 100%. It puts a higher range between the 0 and 100%. You can still go down to 0 and get nothing, right? And 5% is near nothing. So you could still turn it way down. So I don't want people to be afraid to go to the high setting. because you can still turn it down to 0 or near 0 if you're sensitive. One of the things I want people to understand too is our bodies are adaptive engines. I mean, that's what it does, to the tune of 800,000 cells per second, recreating who you are under the current version of your environment and influences so that the body can survive in whatever conditions it's in. And so the more that we use our Healy in terms of microcurrent, the more the body's going to adapt. You know, it's no different than drinking coffee, right? If people are drinking coffee 1 cup a day, all of a sudden, you know, 5 years down the road, that 1 cup of coffee is not doing anything anymore. People are doing 2 cups and then 3 and then a pot. You know what I mean? So the body just gets acclimated to whatever it's being exposed to. So no different than the microcurrent programs or frequencies. But your body is still getting the influence. The frequencies are still getting through on the electron transport, aka microcurrent, through the body. It's still going through the body, still having its effects, still having its influence. It's just that you're no longer, it's no longer catching your attention because the body is acclimated and become used to it. No different than a higher pain tolerance, you know, when someone's exposed to that a lot. So this is not unusual. It is not unusual. I've had my Healy for over 3 years, and I won't tell you how much I do very much because I'm not gonna put that, but the point is that you know, I can run it at 100% quite often, and still have good results. So the key is it's not necessary to feel it. It's not necessary to feel it. If we understand what microcurrent's design is, it's designed to go in subconsciously, essentially, under the radar of the cells. So if you guys are familiar with a TENS unit, when you connect a TENS unit to your body, doesn't matter where, and you start running it, the amount of current going through between the electrode or the pad to pad is high enough to convulse the tissue, right? To literally involuntarily move the tissue. Now, there's advantages to that because when you massage a tissue or convulse a tissue or move a tissue, it moves fluid. It moves fluid in and out. In other words, it could bring toxic blood or stagnant blood out and good fresh resources in. Same thing with nutrients, minerals, vitamins, content like that's supportive to the cells. So that's a good thing. However, the cells that are being involuntarily convulsed are angry. I promise you, they're not happy because it's not exactly what they're choosing to do. And so now you've agitated these cells. You're forcing them to do something. And Healy does not work that way. Healy works with the permission of the body. It works with the harmony of the body. And so it's not necessary to feel it. The important part is actually that you can crank it up to where you can maybe just feel it, but then back it off one so you can't. And the important part is just that you have a conductive signaling from the app, whether it's the old app with the white or black trace around the circle, or with the new app being that it just doesn't say no connection across the screen. So that's pretty much the modalities. You want anything to add there, Jake?
Well, really just, again, as everything that you said, of course, but also just the same program from day to day. You run it today and you run it tomorrow, same intensity. You might not feel the same thing you felt the day before. And again, the frequencies that you're getting aren't necessarily going to be the same. You know, there's a pool of, a lot of them are hundreds of frequencies that it might be pulling from, and each day it's looking to see which ones that you need. So maybe one day the frequencies are tending to be in the higher frequencies versus the lower ones for whatever that reason might be. And the lower frequencies are the ones that you can feel more. It takes more power for those to go through the body. And then, so as you're watching the frequency that's being delivered on your phone, you'll notice a lot of times it drops down to a lower frequency, and then you can start to feel it. It switches to a higher frequency one, and then like you don't feel anything at all. So there's a lot to kind of that goes into this. And of course, we understand if you're demoing something, some people, if they don't feel anything, they don't, well, it's not working. Well, that's the point, is that you don't need to feel anything for it to work. And if you explain that this isn't a TENS machine where your muscles are going to contract like Ken said, that is doing this on a microcurrent level, that of course is a good way to approach it. So,
and I believe it's very important to manage expectations when you're going into doing these demos, because it's the expectations of someone feeling something like, I want a shot of caffeine and get this rush. We have to understand that that's the demise of the body, right? We have to explain that to the people, that it's like, this is what's led you to the problems that it's going on right now. And as Jake said, frequencies under about 400 hertz are closer to density. In other words, more closer to the matter of the body, and take more power to get through, and more likely for you to feel a sensation in the 3D body from them. Above that frequency, they're so fast that you really don't necessarily feel them, no matter what your intensity is. So just understand that every 10 seconds, frequencies change on the program. And so I've had people go, oh my God, I'm feeling something crazy right now. So I adjust it to the lower frequencies and then leave it alone, so that I know that they are not going to get some kind of a sensation over their expectations. But managing expectations right out of the chute, talking the difference between microcurrent. This technology is not what you're familiar with, so you can't compare it to the TENS unit. We want to know that, let them know that this treatment, wrong word, this alignment is happening under the radar of the cell structures, under the radar of their awareness, so that it's not getting our attention. That's how it works. That's what microcurrent has been since the 1920s. That's how it's been. So.
Yeah. And as far as which programs you feel the best, again, that as we mentioned, it varies from person to person. Me personally, the release program is one that I noticed a lot. Where I'm running the release program right now, actually, and I had to turn it down during the call because it started to deliver some low frequencies, and it was too much. You don't want too much of a sensation. So, yeah, and again, it really varies. It's more so a matter of which frequencies are being delivered versus the type of program or the program name or anything like that. So
right, yeah. Because any one of these programs, that when it jumps to frequencies below that 400 hertz level, and which they do because they're addressing specific tissues and issues, that's where you're going to feel it. Hugh also has a question here about, on those 20 demos, do you need 20 phones? You have them downloaded on their, I have them downloaded on their device.
Yeah.
And you always have them download the apps on their device. And the second thing I want to make sure that you do when you're doing these demos is make sure that they know, and that all the other apps are closed in the background. Oh my gosh, I remember one time, we're in Vegas or something, this guy could not load the app. I said, how many apps do you have open? He goes, I don't know. What do you mean? Well, if they don't know how to close an app, there's a lot already open in the background. I promise you. And so we went to his device, looked at what was open in the background, and I said, close all these. He was sitting there swiping up for at least 10 minutes. I don't know how many he had open, but the point is that's a lot of resources being consumed by the smart device and not enough resource for Healy. So load them up onto their smart device. Make sure that they get downloaded, make sure that they get synced up with the hardware, make sure that everything's closed off in the background, and then have them run it directly from their device. Because again, another reason for the feedback, when you start going back for follow-up, they're going to still have these apps on their phone, right? And they won't work because they don't have a hardware. And like, well, remember how much you love this? Well, you need some of your own hardware. So let's go.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So Melinda said that her advisor is spinning also. Okay, so hopefully you guys are able to try what Kristen has put in there for the sync issues.
Yeah.
Let us know. So Linda says, what's, oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that I think Linda's questions should be related to the sync issue, because
yeah,
there's not really if you had HealAdvisor search, there's not really a need to reactivate HealAdvisor search. It's just to, maybe you need to update the app and log back in, but there's not an actual reactivation process. So
yeah, step one, folks, anytime you're having any app issue or some kind of odd issue, step one is I recommend you shut down your smart device. Just how many times you guys turn your smart device off, right? Turn it off and back on. That's going to help to defragment some of the memory usage allocations. It's also going to help allocate proper resources back to the apps that you're going to be using. You can do a hard reset on your Healy and then reconnect from that point with your app. Now, when you go to open the app, at least once a week, open it from your app store. And the reason is because there may be a download or an update that hasn't been properly installed on your smart device. And when you open it from the app store, it's going to automatically perform that function. It's going to update. All right. Lastly, well, not even lastly, but somewhere in that mix, making sure your smart device is properly updated with its current software, whatever the iOS or the Android operating system is, make sure it's current, because the apps are constantly being updated for the current operating system they're working on. Okay, so that's a big one. Okay. So Vanessa wants to talk a little bit about the percentages. About the percentages if it's a negative percent. Okay, I'm assuming you're talking about the analysis, the scanning, and you're seeing something that comes up in a negative percentage. So when we're looking at the analysis, the resonance analysis, and you've got some negative percentages, those are things that are kind of more in the background. And you can say subconscious, but it's more or less things that are still present within the current state of the person, of the client. They're present, but they are not real active, meaning sometimes we've done some work on things in our lives, right? And at one point it was causing us a disorder, but now we've gotten to a point where we're more, we're less judgmental about it. We're more accepting of ourselves about it. And it's not influencing our well-being because of it. Healy will pick those things up, but it'll put them into a category of negative percentage. Not that negative means something bad. It just means it's essentially below a certain awareness level. Or not even really awareness level is the right word, but below a certain active level in our lives. Okay. All right.
Some battery recalibration questions. Christian put some tips into the chat there. Might need some help from our support team to go ahead and put in a ticket. But there's a question from Linda. It says, are both coaching apps on the Healy Professional update or the upgrade is available? So yes, it says Success Coach, but Success Coach includes both success and personal. So that's, you can go ahead and that's the highest level, it includes both. So
yeah, which is kind of confusing, right? Sometimes you go, I want to buy the success coaching module.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you look at it, it includes all of the personal coaching module as well. So you can buy just the personal separate.
Yeah.
But when you get the success, it comes with both. So
yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Hugh's got another comment here. I don't know if it was addressed already. It's up here a bit. I've been getting this over the last week on using the Healy app. I tried water and moving up. How do I make sure this doesn't happen? And do I use the other Healy apps versus the Healy program? Just wondering, as I tried water, tried moving up, tightening and even wiping down with water too. I'm assuming the contact issue sounds like. I'm not sure if that's what he's talking about. But if you're getting some kind of a message that you're not getting proper conduction, and it's not going to be relative to this app here, which is it's called the Healy app or the pink dot app over here on this side. The app itself isn't going to be the one that's determining whether your conductivity is proper or not. It's just the feedback loop telling you that it's not proper. So it's your body or connections or whatever that's experiencing the disconnect. So we just got to make sure that everything's followed through. I prefer actually the new app and its functions. I just like the way it looks and feels, but it doesn't change the functionality of the hardware any. It's just the feedback, what you're seeing on the screen. Okay.
All right. Let's see.
What else
There
we
was
got?
another question that Christian answered in the chat, so thank you, Christian. But it was it says do any of the Healy app programs contain the homeopathic frequencies in the regular programs, or are those only in the Analyse app database? That's a good question, because there is a database called Creative Homeopathy, and yeah, so that's a huge database. I think it was 300 and something.
364.
Yeah, so a lot in there, and there's not a specific program group in the regular Healy app with those in there. So that's it's kind of a separate part or database.
Yeah, they're not microcurrent based applications. They're not microcurrent based programs. These homeopathic remedies are frequencies representing the original content. Same with Bach flower or Australian bush flower, or even I Ching. They're energy representations, frequency representations of the original chemistry, crystal, or substance. And they're not in the microcurrent form.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, this is a interesting question here. It says, when using the Healy app, so the pink dot app, remotely at 70%, the flow is very weak, and I get the message displayed that my intensity is set to low, or I get that message. Well, anyway, so should I increase to a higher percent? I do remote for all my family members, and she's the only one that's not remote. So I guess my question would be, if you're running something remote like that, are you running a microcurrent program remote, or are you using the coil, or what would be the program that you're doing that you would get maybe an insufficient current flow message? Because if it's not hooked up to you, and you're not using the coil, you are going to get that message. But Ken, trying to figure out what
anytime. So if we just read it at face value, the component there about remotely, when using the pink app remotely at 70%, the flow is very weak. So remotely would mean in my book, that you're not connected to the participant, or you're not connected to the client. And if you're not connected physically to the client, then the Healy, remember what the Healy is doing when it's running the microcurrent programs. Its hardware is looking for a sensory input of conduction. The hardware and the program is built to be looking for that sensory input. And it needs to have a very specific amount of flow through both. If you look at your Healy, you've got a plus and a minus right there where you would plug things in, where the wires plug in or the coils connected. That plus and minus essentially is, let's look at it like a battery in your car. You have a battery in your car and it has a plus and a minus terminal with nothing connected to it, then there's no current flow and there's no action going on. But if you take a light bulb in a socket and you have a wire from the light bulb that goes to the negative and a wire from the light bulb that goes to the positive, and the light bulb comes on, now you have current flow. There's an action being performed by this power within the battery. There's an action being performed. There's a light bulb being turned on. So when Healy is connected to the body and it's running a microcurrent program, then it's looking for an action to perform. And that action to perform is to implement microcurrent into the body, oscillated or carrying a specific frequency for the body's alignment. And if it's not sensing the flow, it's going to say, sorry, it's going to give you some indicator. So no matter what you do, if you crank it up to 100% or if you had a 0%, it's still not going to have that closed circuit between the positive and the negative through the host or the body. In other words, to perform the action. So, yeah, you can clarify more. If that didn't answer your question or made it worse, put some more in there in the chat so that we can unpack that a little bit better for you. Let's see. There is another one up here. So Hugh says he's been using a frequency ohm meter to show people that can't feel, to show that there's the frequencies are matching. So that's a good idea to show people a frequency meter. If you've got a good sensitive meter that can show that output, great. And there's another one that's pretty interesting. Any of the programs that run a frequency below 10 hertz, if you run a 10 hertz or 5 hertz or an 8 hertz signal through the optic nerve, you'll see it whether your eyes are open or closed, by the way. It oscillates through your visual cortex because it's sending a signal across the optic nerve, and the brain's interpreting that as this signal. So I mean, this is a fun experiment. Do it on yourself. Don't do it on somebody else. But you can run this. You got to find a program that runs those lower frequencies, and it'll run it for 8 seconds. If you pause it during that low frequency, like I said, 4 hertz, 5 hertz, and you connect between temple to temple, it's going to show. Now, this is not recommended. Not recommended. This is my own experiment, but you can see it through your visual cortex. This is another way that some practitioners have been able to prove that frequencies are being transmitted. I like the meter better. And use the meter because that's a very good, solid way of showing. And there's ways that you can show how the body's conductive as well, from fingertip to fingertip with a meter. And so people say, my body's not conductive, there's no current flow. Well, you can show that with a meter as well, that they are. Okay. Let's see, what else we got? What's the current version of the HealAdvisor search app? The current version.
Christian put that in the
Put
chat.
that in there already.
1.10 or 1.10.0.
Yeah. The advisor. And by the way, folks, if you go to your app store, go to any app, not just Healy, but go to the app itself and click on the app. So it kind of opens the information about it. There'll be a drop down arrow that shows the versions, like a version update history, shows you what that particular version did for the app, what it fixed, what it was for, all that kind of stuff. So, anyway, that's a good way to go and see what the current version is.
Mm-hmm.
It's within the App Store as well. Okay.
Yeah, and you also see when it actually shows you a history of all the updates as
Yep.
well when you go in there. The last one for the HealAdvisor app was about a month ago, but there's usually some sort of small note in there about maybe what was fixed as well. So one of the newest things that was added was the username support for be able to log in. So you can use your email address or username.
Yeah. Okay, so I just got another question in the background here. It says I have 3 different Healy editions. It seemed my editions are required to run the sync every time I run the blue dot scan. Not sure why this has been happening lately. What is the fix for that? So if every time you log in to an app, the blue dot, you're probably going to see the default functions, so especially if you delete the app and reinstall it, the default functions are going to come back, and the auto sync is a default function. And so that auto sync, if you're used to it happening and you maybe turned off auto sync because we told you to for some reason, because of problems that were going on, and the auto sync is back on again, now it's going to sync automatically. But if auto sync is turned off, and again, that's within the settings of the Blue Dot app, you can manually turn that off. Then the synchronization process is only going to happen when you choose it, when you force it to do so. So, so go in there into your settings and take a look at what those are set to. And I'll give you another little hint too. When you open your Blue Dot app, the new icon, well, it's not really new, but the icon on the bottom right of the screen, the gear, is animated. If it's spinning, that means it's synchronizing. There's an action being done in the background. It means it's synchronizing if it's spinning. If it's not spinning, it's not synchronizing. So sometimes it's an advantage to have that auto sync turned off, just because.
Yeah, it depends, right, on how much information you have stored on your Analyse app. And, if you have a ton of clients, it could be annoying to have it go through this whole sync process every single time. But if it's just you or a couple of people, it usually goes pretty quick as long as you have a strong signal. So it could take just a couple seconds, or it could take a lot longer than that, depending on how long you've had it and how much information you have stored on there.
In addition to what data transfer modality you're using with that smart device, if it's cellular network data transfer or if it's Wi-Fi, and the bandwidth of those. So just because I want you guys to understand, when you look at your smart device and there's that little fan, that little Wi-Fi indicator at the top of your screen that says you're receiving full strength Wi-Fi, it doesn't mean that the Wi-Fi you're connected to, the router you're connected to, has any internet access. It just means you have a good radio signal between your smart device and that router. That router may be doing absolutely nothing. It may have no service. It may have even a bandwidth of nothing, and it's being consumed by other activities within that network. So just because you have a good Wi-Fi signal does not mean you have good data transfer. A second part to the question was, do we have an option not to update the new app now, as I didn't get a Mag Healy yet? So yeah, you don't have to, right now, you don't have to use this new app right here that I'm pointing to on my shoulder. You don't have to use this app. This is the new platform that Healy's moving over to. So it's got a lot more functionality, a lot more cool stuff to it. But you can still, the old Pink Dot app still works. It's just, it's getting a little bit there's some things that haven't been able to be fixed quite right.
Yeah, so all the attention, all the resources, development are being put into the new app. You'll see all of our new videos in Academy show only the new app. So, the Healy Pink Dot app will continue to work for a while, but at some point it will be 100% replaced by the new Healy app. So if you want the best, there's still some things being optimized for using the Healy with this new Healy app. But if you want the best user experience going forward, you're going to want to go ahead and use that new app.
Yep. Well, let's see. We got a lightning round. We already hit the 1 hour mark. Dang, that went fast. So thank you. Melody says the new Pink Dot app is terrific. Thank you very much. I agree. It's different. I mean, how many times is everybody just loving and willing and excited about jumping into something different? Not very often. Usually if it's different, it's like weird. I got to learn something new. I mean, I get it. But the moment you do it long enough, I mean, all of a sudden you don't remember the old one. So definitely dive in, get your feet wet and give it a try, because it's really a really good product. It's on a whole new programming platform. So just like hardware, folks, just like hardware, hardware gets outdated because of software improvements. How many of you guys still have a rabbit ear antenna with the big tube screen in your house? How many of you are still watching that? Right? I mean, it's tough today to get a VHF signal to even operate the old TVs. Everything's digital, right? So it gets outdated eventually. I know we love the old stuff, but the new is not bad. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
All right, guys, if you want to save the chat, down at the bottom where you would type in your message, next to the little smiley face icon, there's 3 little dots. Click on those 3 little dots. It will allow you to save the chat to your PC or your Mac if you're on a computer. It won't work if you're on a mobile device. But if the stuff in the chat was helpful for you, and the links and such, definitely click on those 3 dots, save those, and it'll be yours forever. All right, you guys, much love. Don't forget, Healy for Beginners and Beyond on Thursday. What's Up Wednesday tomorrow, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah,
right.
And also Healy for Beginners and Beyond this Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern time.
Noon Pacific. All right, guys. Yep. All right. See y'all there. Have a good night. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.